Strength and softness are not opposites. Welcome to day 68. I'm Dr. Nicole, and today I'm reacting to the cultural debate that erupted around Woman King and similar narratives about feminine strength. The ongoing conversation about whether women can be both strong and soft, or whether strength requires hardness. As a psychologist and feminine energy expert, I find this debate fascinating because it reveals how deeply confused our culture is about what strength actually means for women. Today, I want to bring clarity to this conversation and show you why the either or framing is not just wrong, it's harmful. Let's start by understanding why this debate exists in the first place. Our culture has a very narrow definition of strength. Strength looks like dominance. Strength looks like aggression. Strength looks like emotional suppression. Strength looks like never needing anyone, or it looks like fighting, conquering, and winning. This definition is almost entirely masculine. So when we talk about strong women, we often mean women who act like men, women who suppress their emotions, women who don't need support, women who dominate rather than collaborate, women who are hard rather than soft. The problem is this definition leaves no room for feminine strength. It says that to be strong, women must abandon their feminine qualities. The cultural message is you can be strong or you can be soft, but you cannot be both. But this is a false choice or dichotomy that's been damaging women for generations. Here's a distinction that changes everything: survival strength versus embodied strength. Survival strength is what you develop when you have to protect yourself from a threatening environment. It looks like the emotional armor and walls, hyper independence, suppressing vulnerability, fighting for everything, never showing any weakness. And this comes from, most often, difficult childhoods, trauma, and adversity that people have had to go through, environments where softness wasn't safe, historical oppression, and marginalization. Survival strength is real and it's valid. It helped our ancestors survive. It helped many of us navigate difficult circumstances. But survival strength has a cost. It keeps you in constant fight or flight mode. It prevents genuine intimacy and connection. It exhausts you because you're always on guard. And it becomes your identity even when you're no longer in danger. Embodied strength, on the other hand, is different. It's the strength that comes from healing, integration, and wholeness. It looks like emotional intelligence and regulation, the ability to be vulnerable and boundaried, knowing when to fight and when to flow, leading with wisdom and not just force. Being soft and strong simultaneously can occur with embodied strength. Embodied strength says, I've been through this hard thing or these hard things, and I've healed from them. I've truly overcome and healed. I don't need to stay in survival mode because I'm no longer in danger. The Woman King debate often celebrates survival strength without acknowledging that the goal is to eventually move beyond survival into embodied wholeness. Here's what I want women to understand: you don't have to choose between strength and softness. You can hold both. Strong and soft looks like setting firm boundaries with a gentle tone, leading with authority and warmth, being decisive and emotionally available, protecting yourself without becoming hard, achieving your goals without sacrificing your joy. There's so many examples of women who hold both. The mother who disciplines her child with love, not fear. The leader who makes tough decisions while caring for her team. The woman who says no clearly but kindly. The partner who holds her standards while remaining open to love. The key is integration, not choosing one over the other, but learning to access both depending on what the situation requires. Practically, this means using masculine energy, that decisive, action-oriented energy we talk about when the situation calls for it. Using feminine energy, receptive, intuitive, soft, when that serves better. Not getting stuck in either mode permanently when it doesn't serve you, and trusting yourself to know which energy is needed. One of the biggest misconceptions in this debate is that softness equals weakness. Let me be very clear. Softness is not weak submission. Weak submission is about giving up your power, your voice, or your agency to someone else. Softness is about how you carry your power with grace, warmth, and emotional intelligence. A soft woman has strong opinions and expresses them clearly. She sets boundaries without aggression. She leads with influence rather than force, and she chooses her battles wisely. She speaks truth with kindness. A weakly submissive woman suppresses her opinions to keep the peace, accepts mistreatment to avoid conflict, gives up her power to please others, and has no voice in her relationships. These are completely different things. The most powerful women I know are soft. They don't need to be loud, aggressive, or dominant because their presence alone commands respect. Softness is actually a form of power. And it's one that many people misunderstand because it doesn't look like traditional masculine power. This Woman King debate specifically raised questions about whether celebrating warrior women means rejecting feminine softness. My perspective is we can celebrate women's strength, resilience, and power without suggesting that softness is weakness. The women in that story were fierce and loving, strong and communal, warriors and mothers and lovers, powerful and soft in their own ways. The problem isn't celebrating strong women. The problem is when we suggest that strength requires abandoning femininity. We can honor women who fought for their freedom, women who protected their communities, women who survived impossible circumstances, while also honoring women who choose softness as their power, women who led through love and wisdom, women who created safety and beauty. Both are valid and both are powerful. Both actually are necessary. Here's what I think is really happening in this debate. We're a culture that doesn't know how to value feminine power. We only recognize power when it looks masculine, when it's loud, dominant, and aggressive. So when we want to celebrate women's power, we default to masculine expressions of it. But feminine power is real, it's significant, and it doesn't need to look masculine to be valid. Feminine power looks like creating emotional safety that allows others to actually thrive, influencing through wisdom and presence, building communities through connection and care, leading through inspiration rather than domination, healing what's broken through love and patience. This power has shaped humanity since the beginning of time, just as much as any warrior ever did. You can be powerful and gentle. You don't have to choose between your strength and your softness. You don't have to be hard to be respected. You don't have to suppress your femininity to be taken seriously. The world needs women who can hold both, who can fight when necessary and flow when possible, who can lead with authority and love simultaneously. Hit subscribe for day 69, where I'm sharing how trauma work shaped my softness, a personal story about healing and reclaiming feminine energy. Tell me in the comments, how do you personally hold both strength and softness? I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Dr. Nicole.